Rockets hit Iraq's air base housing U.S. soldiers.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
As Paris Olympics 2024 is currently underway, we look at some must-watch movies based on the event.
What are you doing watching this video? Why aren't you at my show?
Meet Indian comedian and actor Sumukhi Suresh and learn some lesser-known facts about birthday boy Chris Hemsworth. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times, only on WION E-Club.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Is Ukraine looking to occupy Russian territory? Is the Kursk raid by Ukraine a diversion tactic, or has it actually given Ukraine a new bargaining chip? On Gravitas tonight, we unpack the latest from on the ground and what the Ukrainian raid reveals. That's our top story tonight, coming up shortly, and here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you how cheap Houthi weapons are giving heavily armed America a tough time. You do not want to miss this story. As Sunita Williams remains stranded in space, NASA says Williams and Butch Wilmore might return to Earth in February 2025. What's causing that delay? We tell you. Can microbes thrive in a microwave? We tell you what a new study reveals. It has far-reaching implications. All this and more coming up. Our top story tonight is about Ukraine. After months of struggling to halt the Russian aggression on the battlefield, there seems to be some good news on the horizon for the war-torn country. its troops have just successfully carried out one of its most serious attacks on Russian territory since the war started in 2022. In the last 48 hours, hundreds of Ukrainian troops have rolled into Western Russia. You heard that right. After defending its territory for the last 2.5 years, Ukrainian troops have entered Russia. And as a result, Russia has declared a state of emergency and evacuated several thousand civilians from border regions. It has been 3 days of intense fighting. But the question is, what prompted this latest offensive by Ukraine? Is Ukraine looking to occupy the Russian territory? How did Ukraine go from defending its land from invading Russian forces to actually sending hundreds of soldiers into Russia itself? Wouldn't that be counterintuitive? Or is it part of a plan? Is the Kursk raid by Ukraine just a diversion for something bigger and far worse? Has the Kursk raid just given Ukraine a new bargaining chip for future negotiations? Let me explain all of this to you. The Ukrainian force, which the Russians said, included about 300 troops, 11 tanks, and 20 armored vehicles, charged into the Kursk region and appears to have captured a number of settlements around the village of Sudza. That is roughly 8 miles from the border. Now, one of Ukraine's biggest battlefield issues is manpower. We've been telling you about this. Russia has more soldiers and is inching closer to the eastern Ukrainian town of Pokrovsk. Now, as a result of Ukraine's raid on Kursk, Russia has been forced to redeploy some troops there from the front line in eastern Ukraine. If you look at the official reports, there were significantly fewer Russian glide bombs dropped in the Donetsk area. You know what that means? It means the aircraft which carry them are now elsewhere in Russia. So again, is Ukraine looking to occupy Russian territory? It's unlikely, but if the plan was pulling in Russian forces, Ukraine has very quickly succeeded.
Everyone can see that the Ukrainian army knows how to surprise and knows how to achieve results. This is demonstrated by the battlefield, where our soldiers not only withstood the overwhelming force of the occupiers, but also are destroying it in the way necessary to protect Ukraine, our state, and independence.
But just to be clear here, Ukraine has carried out similar incursions in the past. But this would be the first time that regular Ukrainian forces have been used in this kind of a way. There is a lot more chatter across the border. Russian military channels were quick to report the ground assault by Ukraine involving hundreds of troops and several rocket and drone attacks. Local officials were also swift in announcing casualties and evacuations. Like I said, a state of emergency was declared. Russia's defense ministry even admitted that troops were being redeployed in the direction of Sudza, a town in Kursk. And what's more, Russian President Vladimir Putin was publicly briefed by his security chiefs, with his foreign ministry spokesperson calling the attack barbaric and terrorist, quote unquote. This Russian response suggests that Moscow got blindsided by the Ukrainian forces. You see, until yesterday, it was Russia that had been steadily capturing Ukrainian territory. Russia was also outnumbering the Ukrainian forces. It is not surprising then that Russia would be caught surprised by the Ukrainian raid. The Kursk assault is already being presented by Moscow as proof of why Russia should continue its war against Ukraine, a war that is still described as defensive. As for what Ukraine hopes to achieve from this, on Thursday, 2 days after the raid on Kursk, Ukraine broke its silence on its objective.
They have a war that gradually moves deeper into the Russian Federation. Will it scare them? Yes. Do they react to something else except fear? No. We must finally understand this. The Russian Federation perceives any compromise as your weakness and readiness to kneel before them. It is obvious.
Ukrainian presidential advisor Mykhailo Podolyak said that any possible Ukrainian operations in Russian border regions will improve Ukraine's position in future peace talks with Moscow. So that basically is the objective of Ukraine's Kursk raid, it seems. By launching cross-border attack on Kursk, Ukraine seems to have got itself a new bargaining chip in the upcoming peace talks. That is, if Ukraine manages to claim and keep Kursk. It may use it as a bargaining chip in talks with Russia, very crucial. In fact, in his briefing, Podolyak said that Ukraine must enter any talks with Russia from a position of strength. Ukraine has said it aims to invite a Russian representative to the upcoming Second Peace Summit. Will the offensive have an impact on the possible negotiations between Ukraine and Russia? That remains to be seen. The thing is, the prospect of peace talks has been raised multiple times since the war started, but both sides have specified few conditions which they consider non-negotiable. Russia says that Ukraine must accept the September 2022 annexation of 4 of its regions. In June this year, Putin also said that Ukraine must renounce any plans to join the NATO. Meanwhile, Ukraine has said that any peace deal must invalidate the September 2022 annexations and that the Crimean Peninsula must once again be considered part of Ukraine. With both sides standing firm on their stand, the real question is, can Ukraine's latest move actually change the reality on the ground? Or is it just a pipe dream? We will have to wait and watch. Bangladesh's new interim government is being sworn in right now. Sheikh Hasina, a name synonymous with power in Bangladesh for decades, is now history, gone, ousted, after a 15-year tenure at the top. The new interim government is not made up of seasoned politicians or battle-tested leaders. This time, the helm of Bangladesh's governance will be handed over to individuals who have never contested an election, never faced the electorate. They are led by Muhammad Yunus, a name revered internationally as a Nobel Peace Prize-winning economist and the banker of the poor, but untested in national politics. He has stepped up at a time of crisis to take the reins by popular demand. The irony, though, is stark. A banker, a man of peace, is now tasked with navigating the treacherous waters of Bangladeshi politics. So do not be fooled into thinking that this marks the end of Bangladesh's political turmoil. Far from it. This is just the beginning of a new chapter, one that could be even more turbulent and unpredictable, who knows. The question that looms large is whether Yunus, with all his accolades, is actually prepared for the brutal realities of governing a country on the brink of chaos. And let's be clear, chaos is what Bangladesh is facing. The country has been ravaged by protests and violence since mid-July, leaving over 400 people dead. The police force has all but vanished, the civil service is paralyzed, and the economy is in tatters, with foreign reserves rapidly depleting. This is the country that Yunus and his team must now stabilize. But can they? Can a government formed not by the will of the people, but by the forces of a revolution, backed by the military, actually bring peace and order to a country in turmoil? Yunus arrived back in Bangladesh to a hero's welcome, greeted by thousands at the airport. At a news conference, in fact, he made it clear that he is here because the students, the very force behind this revolution in the country, called for him.
Using the means of revolution, Bangladesh will create its new dawn of victory. Keeping this vision ahead of us, we have to keep going. I want to express my gratitude and praise the youths who've made this possible. They have protected this country and given it rebirth, and we wish for this new Bangladesh to progress with speed.
Yunus speaks of a new dawn, a rebirth for the country. But can his vision translate into reality? Should the people of Bangladesh place their trust in him, or is it just rhetoric? A hopeful but naive dream that will crumble in the face of Bangladesh's harsh political realities. Let's not forget that the interim government has a monumental task ahead, to say the least. They must restore peace, revive the shattered economy, and perhaps most crucially, navigate the dangerous waters of political legitimacy. Remember, they were not chosen by the people, but by a group led by students with the backing of the military. Is this the kind of democracy that Bangladesh fought for? Is it the beginning of another chapter of instability and conflict? Former Prime Minister Khalida Zia, a formidable political force in her own right, is unlikely to simply stand by and let Yunus take the reins. Zia, after all, has spent the last 4 years under house arrest, put there by none other than Sheikh Hasina. And now she sees an opportunity not just to return to power, but to actually reshape the future of Bangladesh. At a rally, she has already called for early elections, a demand echoed by her son, Tariq Rahman, who, by the way, has also called for a transfer of power to a democratic government. Rahman, the vice chairperson of the BNP, said that to achieve the goals of the revolution, national elections must be held as soon as possible. But will Yunus and the interim government that he leads heed this call, or will they cling on to power under the guise of restoring order? Will Bangladesh's political elite allow a banker, however noble his intentions, to dictate the future of a country with such a fraught history? The stakes could not be higher, as you can tell. The Awami League, Sheikh Hasina's party, is not completely out of the picture either, by the way. Her son, Sajid Wazid, has made it clear that the party has not given up. Despite the ouster of his mother, he has stated that they are ready to hold talks with the opposition. Listen in.
I had said my family will no longer be involved in politics. But the way our party leaders and workers are being attacked, we cannot give up.
But what does that mean for the interim government and for the country? Is it possible that the Awami League, with its deep-rooted connections and political machinery, could still influence the direction of the country, even from the sidelines? Bangladesh's political landscape is nothing if not unpredictable. We have seen alliances form and dissolve, promises made, broken, leaders rise and fall with dizzying speed. Could we see a scenario where the opposition, led by Khalida Zia and the BNP, finds common ground with the remnants of the Awami League? Or will these two powerful forces clash, leading to even more instability and possibly violence? And what about Yunus? Can he truly lead Bangladesh into a new era? His rhetoric about a new dawn and second independence is stirring, but it remains to be seen if it can withstand the cold, hard realities of governing a country in crisis. The students who have backed him may be filled with hope, but hope alone does not rebuild an economy or restore law and order. How long can this interim government last before it is tested by the opposition, by the people, or by the very forces that brought it into power? Will Bangladesh see a peaceful transition, or is the country headed towards another round of conflict with new players but the same old stakes? Now, one thing is certain, amidst all that uncertainty, Bangladesh's political future is anything but clear. The battle lines are being drawn. The next few months will be critical in determining the country's path forward. Will it be one of stability and progress, or will it be a descent into further chaos and division? We don't know. We will leave you with these questions, unanswered but urgent. Bangladesh stands at a crucial crossroads, and the decisions made in the coming days, weeks and months will shape its future for years to come. For our next story, let me begin by asking you this. Do you know the story of David and Goliath? You know the story of how David goes to fight the giant with a sling and 5 smooth stones, the weapons of a shepherd boy. He wins, the giant is slain, and little David becomes a hero. Well, today the Red Sea has turned into a modern-day story. In this case, the mighty US Navy is being humbled by the ragtag Houthis in the Red Sea after threatening shipping through the strategic Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The Houthis, with their limited resources, are making America's fight against them an expensive one. The US forces have launched roughly 800 missiles and 7 rounds of airstrikes against the Yemen-based group. But to no avail. The Houthis have been able to sustain the fight against the US, and the US, even with all its military might, has failed to completely eradicate the problem. And what's more, the cost continues to rise for the United States. Sure, President Biden says that America is not at war anywhere in the world. But then what is happening in the Red Sea for nearly a year now? The US is involved in what has become the most sustained military campaign by American forces since the anti-ISIS air war in Iraq and Syria in 2016 to 2019. Sure, the battle in the Red Sea has been pushed into the background in a way, with the world's attention on the US presidential elections, the Ukraine war and the war in Gaza. But as the threat of an imminent Iranian attack on Israel looms, it is expected that Iran's proxies in Lebanon and Yemen will pit the US in the middle of the conflict. The US Navy says that the Houthis are well armed and they have strong and consistent supply lines into Iran. In fact, they say that the Houthis are looking for any reason to use it. The Navy says that they are successfully knocking down most of the Houthi drones and missiles targeting commercial shipping. But then the question is, for how long? How long will the US be required to deploy warships to the Red Sea? An extended operation in the Red Sea is sure to put a whole lot of pressure on American lawmakers to raise the Pentagon budget, making the entire campaign in the Red Sea very, very expensive for the American taxpayers. Already, the conflict in the Red Sea has meant that the US has sent many high-end American assets like warships, destroyers, cruisers, aircraft carriers to the region. And this has frustrated members of the US Congress. In fact, recently, US Congressman Mike Waltz decried how America is burning war readiness to the tune of billions of dollars. And for what? A ragtag bunch of terrorists, quote unquote. Those were his words to describe the Houthis. Congressman Waltz said, Iran is the core of the issue. And before that, in May, Under Secretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, William LaPlante noted during testimony before a Senate subcommittee that if the US is shooting down a $50,000 one-way drone with a $3 million missile, that is not a good cost equation. And that, of course, is a good point and really good summation of the entire issue. But, of course, the US defense officials do not agree. In fact, they say that the US Navy has always been in the business of protecting commercial shipping. They say that the intensity of the Houthi attacks, which have included explosive-laden, uncrewed boats, missiles, drones, have demanded a response from international community. They are right. It is the Navy that protects the people from non-state actors operating at high sea. And so far, the US-led efforts have seen participation from the British, the French, the Dutch, and Japanese ships. Sure, the bulk of the action has been borne by American ships, but that also begs the question, even with all its might and help from allies, why have they not stopped the Houthis or not been able to? You see, the Houthis have rapidly transformed from what used to be an obscure insurgent group. They have managed to make themselves a formidable power broker in Yemen. They endanger shipping through Bab el-Mandeb, which, as you know by now, is the world's third largest choke point for oil. Over 6 million barrels passing through this narrow strait daily, mainly heading to Europe. But now, by threatening this crucial waterway, the Houthis have transcended military impact. They have been able to expose the waning power of the US. Their missiles have highlighted America's inability to secure the Red Sea. In the US, some Republicans, in fact, are saying that the answer to the Houthi problem involves putting more pressure on Iran. But by everything we have heard so far, the Houthis, even with the backing of Iran, should be no match for the might of the US and allies. Yet, it looks like cheap Houthi weapons are giving heavily armed US a tough time. Taylor Swift is known to literally send seismic shocks with her electrifying performances. But a shadow of terror forced her to cancel the Vienna leg of her ongoing Eras tour. What really happened? Well, the decision was taken after 2 Islamic State sympathizers, aged 19 and 17, were arrested in connection with an attack plot. In fact, authorities confirmed that the suspects swore loyalty to the ISIS terror group's leader on the internet and kept chemicals and technical devices at their home in the town of Ternitz in preparation for an attack. And that's not even all. From explosive devices to detonators to extensive ISIS propaganda material, a lot of objectionable material was found in the recovery. The police also found 21,000 euros in counterfeit money, knives, anabolic steroids.
A 19-year-old Austrian citizen was arrested today in the morning hours in Ternitz. Another related arrest was made today in the afternoon in Vienna. According to the current state of the investigation, the suspects radicalized themselves on the internet. The 19-year-old citizen of Lower Austria swore allegiance to the leader of the IS at the beginning of July. Subsequently, the suspects made concrete preparations for a terrorist attack.
Austria's top security forces confirmed that certain changes were noticed in the lifestyle of the 2 accused. The 19-year-old quit his job on the 25th of July, saying that he had something big planned, adding that he planned to detonate a device in the perimeter of the concert venue. Meanwhile, the 17-year-old who was arrested in Vienna had recently broken up with his girlfriend. While Swifties, or Taylor Swift's fans, as they are called, were left utterly disappointed, Austrian Chancellor saying that a tragedy has been prevented, and we could not have agreed more. Imagine a terror attack at a Taylor Swift concert. According to the organizers, more than 65,000 people were supposed to attend the concert on all 3 days. Confirming the cancellation, the concert organizers said, and I'm quoting now, with confirmation from the government officials of a planned terrorist attack, we have no choice but to cancel the 3 scheduled shows for everyone's safety, quote unquote. The organizers added that all ticket holders would receive refunds.
I waited about 400 days for it, and then we only arrived yesterday. At the moment it's okay because there are just such cool people here. But of course it is the worst thing that could have happened, and it's just a shame because you wait so long for it and that's all you want, and then it just falls apart. It's just a shame.
And we came here to watch the Taylor Swift concert, but unfortunately, this is what we have. It's been cancelled. We've been trading bracelets and all day. The trees, and I'm very happy to see all these people coming together, making the best out of the situation. I was devastated. I cried the whole of last night. Yeah.
In recent years, concerts in Europe have become targets for mass attacks. In November 2015, ISIS gunmen attacked the Bataclan Theatre in Paris, remember, killing at least 130 people in total. And in May 2017, the group claimed responsibility for a suicide bombing at an Ariana Grande concert in England that killed 22 people. Taylor Swift herself has called these types of attacks her biggest fear. The singer is known not to cancel shows. Her last cancellation happened in Rio during her ongoing Eras tour because of high temperature in the country. But we are sure for Swift, safety of the Swifties is her priority. Imagine navigating through thick forests swarmed with mosquitoes, passing rapid river waters, wild animals, and criminal gangs that rob, rape, and kill those passing through the forest. This is what hundreds of Chinese nationals are reportedly enduring on a day-to-day basis in their quest to reach the United States. Just imagine their desperation and their determination to flee repression, risking everything for a shot at a better life and freedom. They are doing this via the dangerous and increasingly popular route through the Darien Gap, a treacherous path often referred to as one of the most perilous migrant trails in the world. You see that small portion on the map? That is the Darien Gap. On Wednesday, authorities in Panama arrested 15 individuals tied to a criminal network accused of facilitating the smuggling of Chinese migrants through the deadly jungle. These arrests occurred in the small town of Santa Fe, close to the Colombian border, falling in the Darien province, an area that has become notorious as a crossing point for those making the harrowing journey to America. But, by the way, this wasn't just any smuggling operation. The organization in question was offering what they called a VIP route, a faster, more secure passage through the jungle, but at a steep cost. For those with financial means, the price ranged between $2,600 and $8,000 per person. The journey, which usually takes up to 8 grueling days on foot, could be cut down to just 2 days thanks to all-terrain vehicles, small boats, and even horses. Now, just pause here for a moment and imagine. People are willing to spend their life savings, risk their lives, and entrust themselves to criminal networks just for a chance at freedom. How bad must their situation be? According to reports, more than 500,000 people braved the Darien Gap in 2023. This year alone, over 220,000 migrants have reportedly ventured through this gap, with Venezuelans making up the largest group, followed by Ecuadorians, Colombians, Haitians, and increasingly Chinese nationals. The surge in Chinese migrants in particular has been staggering. According to the Panama government data, the number of Chinese who made the dangerous crossing has skyrocketed from under 300 from 2010 to 2019 to over 12,000 in just the first 7 months this year. In fact, they are now the 4th largest group by nationality to attempt making the crossing, outnumbered only by migrants from the Americas. So the immediate question is, what is driving this exodus from China? And to understand that, we need to look at the stories of the migrants who have shared their ordeal with the media. Once living the so-called Chinese dream, Their lives were turned upside down by the COVID-19 pandemic and China's stringent lockdown measures. Their business crumbled, and outspokenness against the government put them under scrutiny, leading to repeated interrogations by the local authorities. And when the frustration reached its peak, many made the rather difficult decision to flee the country, embarking on a 5,000-kilometer journey through Central America. Their journey, fraught with dangers, robbing at gunpoint in Colombia, trekking through Panama's unforgiving jungles, and enduring a perilous sea voyage in Mexico. They represent a growing trend of middle-class, college-educated Chinese nationals who, disillusioned with their country's political and economic climate, are willing to endure extreme hardship for the chance to live in a society where they can speak freely and seek a better future for their children. These migrants are not just seeking economic opportunities, they are fleeing an environment increasingly hostile to their freedom and well-being. Yet, their journey to the US is not just a physical one. It is an emotional and psychological battle filled with personal sacrifice, leaving behind their spouses, children, terminally ill relatives. And what about those who don't make it? How many lives are lost in the jungles, rivers, mountains along the way, their stories never told, their dreams never realized? These are the stories of human beings caught between the oppressive conditions of their homeland and the dangers of the journey ahead. And when they do reach their destination, often the struggle is far from over. Many get taken into custody. As per reports, more than 37,000 Chinese nationals were arrested for illegally crossing the US border in 2023. Even those who managed to make it are not better off. Many undocumented Chinese migrants in America find themselves working in low-wage jobs, living in precarious conditions, and struggling to support themselves without a legal status. Some even choose to return to China, unable to endure the hardships of life in the shadows. These stories highlight the adverse situation in China that is forcing thousands to flee and risk everything for a chance at freedom and a better life. Sunita Williams remains stranded in space. When will she return to Earth? NASA says Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore might return to Earth in February 2025. That is 6 months from now. And that, by the way, could be the best case scenario. Now, in case you haven't been following the story and the developments, let me quickly get you up to speed with all that has happened. Williams went into space in June this year. Now, she was supposed to be at the International Space Station for 8 days. But those 8 days turned to 18, and now it has been 2 months. Sunita Williams is still stranded in space. If she does end up returning to Earth in February, then she would have stayed in space for 8 months instead of 8 days. The name of this tragedy is Boeing. Sunita Williams went to space aboard the Boeing Starliner. This was the first crewed flight for the vehicle. Its blastoff was delayed. The spacecraft was not safe to leave planet Earth. And now that the Starliner is in space, it is not in a state to return. The Starliner has experienced helium leaks, not one, but several. There are also thruster problems. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore have been trying to fix the problems in space. Boeing engineers on Earth are also working to fix the Starliner, but so far there has been no luck. The impact, though, has been wide-ranging because the Starliner is not being able to undock from the International Space Station. NASA has had to delay its next mission. SpaceX was supposed to take 4 astronauts to space this month, but that mission has now been pushed to September. And that also may get pushed further. Only 2 docking ports at the space station can actually accommodate US astronaut capsules. Right now, both are occupied. And what's more, The 4 other astronauts who are with Williams and Wilmore and who went to space in March aboard a SpaceX space shuttle also face a longer mission than planned. Is this what happens when you place your trust in Boeing? The American aviation and aerospace company that was once considered one of America's greatest soft powers has today become synonymous with disaster. And one wonders, why did NASA even trust Boeing with this mission? Reports say NASA is trying to cut a deal with SpaceX to leave 2 seats empty on the upcoming Crew Dragon launch so that Williams and Wilmore can come back home. Boeing says if NASA decides to change Starliner's mission, then the company will start preparing for an uncrewed return. Now, Boeing has had multiple problems with the Starliner over the years, and now the spacecraft has become a laughingstock in a way. It has put at risk the health of 2 astronauts as well. Reports say Sunita Williams is struggling with bone loss. You see, these are veteran astronauts we are talking about. This is Sunita Williams' 3rd space mission. She is 58 years old. Boch Wilmore is 61. And thanks to Boeing, they are stranded in space. And this, by the way, is just one of Boeing's many problems. Current and former workers of the company are speaking out more than ever before about the issues with Boeing's production line, about the rush to deliver, meet deadlines, even if it means compromising with the quality of the aircraft. We have been telling you all about this. Here's the latest. Boeing's workers have given their testimony to the U.S. National Transport Safety Board. Workers say they are under constant pressure to complete the task quickly. And this often, they say, leads to mistakes. Let me just read out for you what this worker exactly said. I'm quoting here. As far as the workload, I feel like we were trying to put out too much product, right? That's how mistakes are made. People try to work too fast. I mean, I cannot speak for anybody else, but we were busy. We were working a lot, quote unquote. This worker has been identified by assembler installer Doors B. A door master lead confessed to the investigator that there was no specialized training for handling door plugs, which are critical components. Another employee said there was lapse in communication between Boeing and its supplier Spirit Aerosystems. This is the company that manufactures the fuselage of the MAX planes. Now, this hearing was part of an investigation into Boeing following the mid-air plug door blowout of a Boeing 737 MAX plane operated by Alaska Airlines. The incident once again put the spotlight on Boeing's MAX fleet. Boeing 737 MAX first became the talk of the town following 2 deadly crashes involving a Lion Air plane and an Ethiopian Airlines jet. All 346 people aboard the planes died. Both the planes had nosedived and crashed minutes after takeoff. Investigators found a problem with Boeing's MCAS system. They revealed how Boeing had deliberately hidden certain features from airlines and their crew in order to sell the new MAX planes. The MAX fleet was grounded around the world. Regulatory checks were carried out before it could take off again. Cut to present now. Boeing has had a turbulent year. From plug door to plane tire, things have been falling off mid-air from planes. Several whistleblowers have also exposed how Boeing cuts ends in order to meet the delivery timeline. From fitting planes with defective parts to compromising on emergency oxygen masks, whistleblower accounts have been eye-opening. And to add to the murkiness, 2 Boeing whistleblowers have died under suspicious circumstances. But this has not stopped other workers from speaking up. Meanwhile, there is finally some good news for the Indian contingent in Paris. The Indian men's hockey team has won back-to-back medals at the Olympics for the first time since 1972. The 8-time gold medalist defeated world number 8 and Spain 2-1 to clinch the bronze in Paris. This win, by the way, also marks the end of an era for India, with goalkeeper PR Shrijesh calling time on his career. The men in blue picked themselves up from a painful defeat against world champions Germany in the semi-final. It was a physical match from the beginning, with both teams unable to score in the first quarter. Former India captain Manpreet Singh then conceded a penalty stroke. Spain's skipper Marc Miralles did not make any mistake from 7 yards to put Spain ahead in the 18th minute. Tokyo bronze medalist India found the equalizer just seconds before the half-time when skipper Harmanpreet Singh converted a penalty corner. The men in blue took the lead 3 minutes into the third quarter, and it was once again Singh who scored from a penalty corner. This was the 10th goal for the Indian captain in this tournament. Spain got 9 penalty corners in the match but failed to convert them as India held on for the victory. Shrijesh, who has been between the sticks since 2006, walks into the sunset as a 2-time Olympic medalist. The goalkeeper was a crucial member of the team that ended a 41-year-old jinx for a medal at the Olympics in 2021. The 36-year-old dished out a stellar performance in this campaign as well. And just like he did in Tokyo, the 36-year-old climbed atop of the goal and bid farewell with a medal on his neck. It's a 4-day work week, the future of work. Well, here on Gravitas, we've asked you that question many times, and it's not because we would rather work 4 days a week. It's because the idea has been gaining up acceptance in countries worldwide. After Australia, Canada, and France, UAE authorities in Dubai have announced a pilot scheme to reduce working hours for selected government entities during the summer. As per a report by state news agency WAM, the initiative, which is being called the Our Flexible Summer Campaign, will run until the end of September. The Dubai Government Human Resources Department has in fact said that work on Fridays will be suspended under this scheme. Working hours will be reduced to 7 per day for employees in 15 participating government entities. Now, currently, most government employees in Dubai benefit from a 2.5-day weekend. And with the new initiative, employees will enjoy an extended weekend for 7 weeks. The Dubai authority is saying that the scheme aims to enhance workplace flexibility, ensure safety during the summer, and promote a better work-life balance. The 4-day work week initiative is also expected to lower energy consumption within government offices. Before the campaign, the pilot scheme supports a directive by the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President and Prime Minister of Dubai. His stated mission is to make Dubai the best city in the world to live in. The 4-day work week initiative is gaining more and more popularity worldwide, and we are not surprised. Studies within the UAE and internationally suggesting that shorter working hours can actually help boost productivity. And this is huge. If all studies are proven true, it has the potential to change the work culture in the future. And even though there is one more work day left before we hit the weekend, we are not losing hope. Do you often use a microwave to heat up your food? It's convenient, right? Microwaves are an integral part of people's lives today. But what if you were told that they are home to microbes? A startling new study has revealed a hidden world inside our everyday appliances, specifically microwave ovens. You might think of your microwave as just a convenient kitchen tool, but researchers have actually discovered that these machines are home to microbes. That's right, microwave ovens are supposedly teeming with highly adapted bacteria, some of which are surprisingly tough. Let's just break this down for you. A team of scientists at Darwin Bioprospecting Excellence in Spain conducted an in-depth investigation into the microbial life lurking within microwave ovens. And what they found is both fascinating and also unsettling. These microbes are not just random invaders, they are highly specialized and have adapted to survive in the harsh environment of a microwave. Think about it. The extreme heat, the radiation, these are not conditions most life forms would actually thrive in, but these microbes have found a way, and they are thriving. For the study, the team took samples from 30 microwave ovens, not just from private kitchens, but also from shared spaces like office cafeterias and even scientific laboratories. Their goal was to see how different environments and usage patterns influence the types of microbes that live in these microwaves. And what they found was a clear distinction between the bacteria found in domestic and laboratory settings. Microwaves in private homes were found to harbor bacteria that are typically found on other kitchen surfaces. And in contrast, laboratory microwaves were home to bacteria that are more resistant to radiation and extreme conditions. Now, this study did not just scratch the surface. Using advanced DNA sequencing techniques, the researchers identified 747 different types of bacteria. That's a staggering level of diversity, especially for something as seemingly mundane as a microwave oven. Interestingly, the diversity of these microbes was the lowest in single household microwaves, but the highest in laboratory ones. It's clear that the environment and how a microwave is used plays a big role in determining what kind of bacteria can actually survive there. So why should we care about bacteria in microwaves, you wonder? For one, some of these bacteria, especially those found in domestic microwaves, could pose a risk to our health. However, the study points out that these microbes do not present a unique or increased risk as compared to other common kitchen surfaces. So, while there is no need to panic, it is certainly something to be aware of. The researchers did not just stop at identifying the microbes, by the way, they also offered practical advice. They recommend that both the public and those working in laboratories regularly disinfect their microwaves. They said a diluted bleach solution or a commercial disinfectant spray will do the trick, adding that it is also crucial to clean up spills immediately and wipe down the interior surfaces after each use. Turns out your microwave is more than just a kitchen appliance. It is a miniature ecosystem of highly specialized bacteria. So what's the takeaway, you ask? Keep your microwave clean, of course, and be mindful of what's happening inside it every time you hit the start button. On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in. The quest for an Olympic medal has begun. History is being made at the Paris Olympics.
Manu Bhaker has created history here in Chatroom.
And the history makers are speaking exclusively to WION.
I am living my dream, and it's not like it's going to end here.
The best in the world have descended upon Paris, defying gravity and setting new benchmarks. And we are there to cover it all.
The Olympic Games are the pinnacle of sport, and they demand sacrifices from both sportspersons and those covering it. I'm Digvijay Singhdeo, and I will be tracking the best in sport from here in Paris.
Can Team India reach a double-digit medal tally?
The Olympics, it's a sweet bread, but it comes with pressure, for sure.
Watch Gunning for Glory through the Paris Olympics at these times on WION.
Anger, protests, death and curfews since Nigerians nationwide rallied for the first of the 10 planned days of rage over a deepening cost of living crisis. President Bola Tinubu appeals for protests to end after bloodshed. Kenya introduces slam dams to various regions in efforts to protect communities from floods. And meet wild, charming, smart courage, a male catwalk coach who is changing the stereotypes about fashion. Wild of Africa at these times on WION, Wild is One.
This week on the West Asia Post, Hamas has a new chief, Yahya Sinwar. Will Sinwar help bring a ceasefire in Gaza? The Israeli forces are on high alert. Will Iran follow through on its threat to avenge the death of Ismail Haniyeh at a time and place of its choosing? Also on the show, Israeli media footage shows abuse of Palestinian prisoners. Rockets hit Iraq's air base housing US soldiers.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION, World is One.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look at what is making headlines at this hour.